How many of you are familiar with this guy? He doesn't usually use swords. He usually holds a hammer. This is Thor, Odin's son. Um, this video is not going to be about Thor, but it is about his sister. So we'll put Thor back here so he can watch. Now, by Thor's sister, I do not mean Hela, as in from the movie series from the MCU. And actually, in the actual comic books, Hela is actually Loki's daughter, not Thor's sister. And so, yeah, she's the queen of hell. So, yeah, there's a lot there that happens with that. No, this story is actually about Thor's biological sister in the comics. Adrif, Odin's daughter, was the firstborn of Oda. This is not One Piece. Running gag, apparently. I mispronounce words and say something else that has to do with a completely different series than what I'm actually talking about. Firstborn of Odin and Frigga, or Freya, and heir to the Asgardian throne. When Heaven waged war on Asgard, the Queen of Angels kidnapped Aldrich, and in an attempt to blackmail Odin into surrendering, he refused, and the queen seemingly killed the child before fleeing. Following the event, Odin used his power to cut Heaven from the other realms and Yggdrasil, so it made basically Heaven its own place. And after that, the Queen of the Angels ordered the corpse of the baby to be disposed of. Her handmaiden, L'Oreal, I'm sure there's a hair joke in there somewhere, but I'm not going to make it, was tasked with this, discovered that the baby was still alive, and ended up raising it as her own as one of the angels under the name of Angela. So this video is actually going to be about Angela, who is actually one of my more favorite Marvel characters since I found out about her. She is awesome. She overcome the fact that and throughout the course of the comics that she's in, she overcame the fact of her heritage and her birth, and she overcame the fact that she was not actually an angel living among angels, that she still became like this leader of different battle parties and hunting parties and everything like that, and she's just an amazing fighter and everything. And at one point, she does learn about her real heritage, about who her parents are. It's over here. She does learn about who her real parents are, and she learns, oh, you're actually the heir of Asgard and everything. And she's like, but I have no emotional claim to Asgard. I want nothing to do with it. And she doesn't end up keeping that throne. Doesn't end up wanting it at all. At various points in time in the comics, either Thor has become king, or Loki did, or whatever various point in time, depending on what manipulation schemes are going on. But what ends up happening is Angela ends up traveling with the Guardians of the Galaxy at one point, so we kind of get the Asgardians of the Galaxy in those cases. And there is a comic that I have over here that is called Asgard's Assassin, which Hela at one point has to end up fighting like Marikath, who's like the Dark Elf King, a whole bunch of other stuff. And Angela kind of came about in like I think it was like the mid 2000s or something like that, was when she first came about, or like the early 2010s or so was when she came about. And she gets like this whole backstory that they put with her. And of course, we have Thor finding out about his own sister. And that's fun. Thor and Angela, Thor and Angela don't really end up interacting too much, or they don't get along very well. Angela and Loki end up having to interact at one point, and it's funny, but I'll get to that in a little bit. But what ends up happening is Angela, she does all this battling and everything, and throughout the course of her time when she was an angel, she fell in love with one of these other types of wingless angels that are just meant to be servants and slaves to the other angels. One of them is called Sera, Sera. And Angela and her fell in love with each other, and then at one point Sera either died or got dragged off to hell as punishment for above her station, or whatever the case was. And Meliketh at one point had pretended to be her to lure Angela into a trap. And then Angela goes from there, and she finds out where her love really is, and she finds out that she's all the way down in hell. And then we get Angela, Queen of Hell. Angela basically fights her way through hell to find Sera and free her, and fights Hela and takes over the job as Queen of Hell, all to get back the woman she loves. Yeah. Okay, yeah. As acts of devotion for love go, that's definitely very much top of the list. Along with Carolina and Xavian, where Xavian basically sacrificed himself in the Runaways one that I mentioned to go and basically take Carolina's punishment that wasn't rightfully hers anyway. So yeah, we got a lot of like acts of true love going on, which I those are nice, but sometimes I wish that they weren't necessary. It's like with fairy tales, it's like you must kiss her to awaken her to prove that you have true love. Okay. We have those moments and everything that go with like fairy tales, since I do a lot of Disney videos and everything, and different other types of true love, which I'll get into when I do, I went over that a little bit with the Sleeping Beauty video back when I talked about Maleficent, the live action stuff, where we have those, and where it's Maleficent that's the one that wakes up, Aurora with the kiss of true love, as opposed to it being, the prince that did it. But back to this. I actually have one of the volumes over here, or the volume for Angela, Queen of Hell. This is Angela sitting on her throne. She stole Hela's crown. And then we have Sera over here. They fight their way through to each other and everything. And Angela even has to find this armor that will allow, if I remember correctly, it's Angela has to find this armor that will allow her to like sneak into hell and everything. And, all hail the Queen of Hell and everything that happens. Angela rightfully defeated Hela, therefore she gets to become Queen of Hell. And at the end, Angela's like, I really don't want to be Queen of Hell. I'll give it to someone else. I don't want this job. I just want Sera. And they go and they literally just go to New York. And then they run off to be happy in New York. And they're just, they get to be happy there. And it's so nice and so sweet. And they're just, I would say that they're one of my, not just one of my favorite same-sex comic book couples, definitely one of my favorite comic book couples in general. Wanda and Vision are up there in regards to that. There's a lot of other ones up there that I definitely put as some of my favorite comic book couples. Harley and Ivy are up there too in that regard, along with the Batman and Catwoman. But I love what they did with Angela, where she's just like, nope, my girlfriend is trapped down in hell. I'm going to go get her back. Literally fights the Queen of Hell in order to get back the woman she loves. I'm like, I got nothing on you, woman. You go. You have the guts to do this. Go. And actually, if you think about it, that is kind of a play off on the Greek mythology story of Orpheus. He was this a musician, and he was in love with this woman, and Orpheus and Eurydice, I think was her name, was the woman's name. They fell in love. They were very much in love, and like on their wedding day, she gets bit by a snake and she dies. And then Orpheus, in his grief, travels all the way down through the depths of hell, through the depths of Hades, all the way to the throne room in Hades before Hades and Persephone, and he's playing his lyre, his musical string instrument the entire way down there, singing this sad song of lost love, and he's just filled with so much grief and heartache and everything, and having to lose the woman that he loved. And he makes his way all the way down to the throne room, all the way up to Hades' throne. And Hades, the god of the dead, the god of the underworld, so moved by Orpheus's singing and his his plight, his story, and everything, and with some pleading from Persephone, he agrees that if Orpheus walks all the way out of Hades, walks his way all the way out of hell, and gets back into the land of the living, and does not look behind him, that when he arrives there, stepping out behind him will be Eurydice, fully healed, fully alive, and able to be with him again. And he does it. He goes all the way up, and a few feet before, he can't hear her behind him. He thinks he hears footsteps. He thinks he hears breathing, but he never looks back until he gets to just before the entrance of the cave where he went down. And he can't bear it anymore, and he turns, and for a brief second he sees her before, Hermes, the messenger god, shows up, and because Orpheus did not keep his deal, he takes Persephone back. Orpheus does not have a happy ending. If I remember correctly, at one point he ends up on the Argo, as in like Jason and the Argonauts, and like the Golden Fleece, the quest for the golden journey for the Golden Fleece. He ends up there, if I remember correctly, and is like a compatriot of like Hercules in that case, and like Jason. And then he ended up finding his way into this like satyr and nymph party at one point, and they were annoyed that he wasn't playing happy music, so they ripped him apart. They ripped him to pieces, and he died. And then he was then reunited with Eurydice in the afterlife, and I'm like, I'm glad Marvel didn't go that route with it, with Angela and Sera. I'm so glad they didn't. No. I don't want to see that. Angela is just badass. She there was a comic run at one point of like Loki for president, and like he did this horrible manipulation thing of like tricking Hydra and then making it look like Loki was actually a hero, and like Angela had like been like his bodyguard, and she at one point, after Loki kind of becomes this hero figure and looks like he might win, she goes to him and she's like, did you really just plan everything with Hydra? And he's like, yeah. And she must have been recording it or something, because then she goes to like a reporter or whatever and says, here's the information on my brother, adoptive brother or whatever. He didn't actually do this. He's actually a horrible person, and blah, 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 blah. And like trades that information for like, I think it's a lifetime subscription to the Daily Bugle, which is, the paper that like Spider-Man works for. And then Loki loses, and then Angela's happy. Angela and Sera seem to be quite happy in New York, which is good for them. They deserve to be happy after everything that they've been through. And then the other kind of variation of this, I mentioned there's kind of like alternate versions in Marvel, obviously, of other characters. And there's also a series that they did, or a special series that they had done for Marvel, that is called Marvel 1602. I've either mentioned this in another video, or it'll be up in a video after this one, depending on stuff, that is called Marvel 1602. It is Marvel characters taking place in 1602, as in at that turn of the century, in that case, with, America being founded and the reign of, Queen Elizabeth, near the tail end of her reign, and the Inquisition going on, and like lots of stuff like that all happening at the same time. And like, we have Captain America there, we have Nick Fury there, we have like some of the X-Men there, we have Doctor Strange there, and it's not like they get sent back in time. They are just new versions of these characters that live in this time, and it's just the power came sooner than it should have. The mutant genes came sooner than they were supposed to. And one of the side volumes that they did was, because they just had this main one that was written by Neil Gaiman. Yeah, go read that. It's a great story. It's wonderful. There's historical accuracies and inaccuracies, but of course, they're messing with history a little bit in it, so they can have a few historical inaccuracies in there, in my opinion, for all I care. I don't care. But one of the things that they do in it is, one of these side ones is Angela, Witch Hunter, 1602. And It's it's alternate reality. It's not written by Neil Gaiman, but it's still set in that same time frame. And it's because at that time frame it was if you're a woman who seems to have any type of anything different about you, you were seen as a witch. And Angela ends up, you know, I think in this case, it's Angela is supposed to be a witch hunter, but I don't remember if she gets turns good or whatever, but yeah, she still has her version of Sera in this. So they still kept that. And, Angela and her are still in love in this. And if I remember correctly, at the end of the story, Angela's power just kind of goes out of control because instead of her being like this descendant of the Asgardians, she is like a descendant of like I don't remember if it's like a descendant of supposed to be like a Titania and Oberon, as in like like fairies or something like that. But she does get extremely powerful at one point, and things happen, and then I think it's like Sera dies or something, and then later on, there's a lot of other stuff that happens with that, but it's very interesting. They did a lot of 1602 for Marvel. I think there's Young Avengers 1602, Spider-Man 1602. Um, oh, what else was there? I don't remember. It's been a while since I've looked through it or looked those up, but they have a lot of 1602 things that they did with that. There was just kind of like this fun alternate dimension type thing. I had to prop the books up on something. There's boxes back there. There's so many other amazing versions of Angela that they bring into play. At one point she does end up meeting Freya and Odin again, and as I said, she goes alongside the Guardians of the Galaxy, and her and Gamora are an extremely deadly force. Yeah, Thor and her don't necessarily always get along. But there's a lot of things that happen with Thor and her. Um, I don't know who drew this one, but this is like Angela and Loki. I just think that's adorable. Um, um, it's just this like very interesting, fun way of looking at the characters, and she does end up interacting with them. Because they always do like different cover pages and stuff like that, kind of like what Oda does, which aren't necessarily interaction with the actual story, but like I think this is supposed to be Angela and then like Odin and Frigga. um, Frigga showing up there, and like they look like they're at like some type of an amusement park or a theme park or something. So it's just like time with mom and dad type thing. This is as Asgard's assassin takes place before the Queen of Hell, because at the end of this is when she finds out where Sera really is, and she goes to get her. So I very much like what they did with Sera and Angela, and that love that they show there, and they're kind of one of the couples that kind of gets to be happy. I don't know. I would love it if they found a way to bring Angela and Sera into the actual into the actual MCU or something. It was like they did the whole flip thing of like Odin had a daughter, and that was Hela, and and now she's dead, and Asgard's gone, and everything. But we're also gonna have the Thor Love and Thunder thing. So with Jane getting that power, which I'm perfectly fine with, and everything. And there's like a lot of stuff that goes into that. It's gonna be very interesting to see what they do with that. But I'm also like, I want them to find a way to bring Angela in. I don't know how they would do it. I mean, it could be that like they do something where it's like they do like there's like in Loki in the the series on Disney Plus. It could be like depending on how long that series ends up running, because Loki keeps time traveling in it from what it appears from the trailers, that maybe what ends up happening is Loki goes back in time, and he finds out from his mom and dad, like he goes back in time and like illusions himself into like someone else and like talks to them or something, and finds out that Oh no, Hella wasn't your only sister. What? You have an older sister. Well, older than Hella. Or younger than Hella, but like older than you and Thor. She was kidnapped by Heaven when we had a war with them, and they killed her, and we don't know. We've never found her. She's gone. And then, like, Angela shows up, like Loki finds Angela or something like that. It would depend on which version of Loki found Angela. If it was like the Loki that's like in the end of Infinity War, or at the beginning of Infinity War, that has kind of fully decided where his loyalty lies, and that it is with Thor and with the Asgardians. Like, these are his real people, his, kind of family type thing. That Loki finding Angela would be good. Loki, that's the Loki from Loki, may not be so good about him finding Angela, but I would love it if they found a way to do that, or just like bring in the character and maybe not necessarily have her have that relationship to Thor and Loki necessarily, but still bring in that character, um, and bring in Sera along with her. And I just think that that would be fun. I would love that. That would just make me so happy. They are very much one of my favorite comic book couples. Regardless of Marvel, DC, whatever, they are definitely one of my favorite ones. So that'll be the end of the Pride Month videos. I spaced them out hopefully well enough. So that's the end of these. I'll probably do another, set of Pride Month videos maybe next year or something like that, come June. So, to all of you who watched the videos and enjoyed them, thank you. Comment below for, some of your favorite comic book couples, or other couples you think I should read about. I know there's a lot of other ones that I am not super familiar with. There's other, gay couples. There's other, lesbian couples, in there, throughout, not just Marvel and DC, but like I know there's like Dark Horse and like other comic books out there, that have dealt with a bunch of those different types of relationships. Sometimes they end up happy, sometimes they're not. But so there's a lot that happens there. But so I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed all of these videos, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye. I learned to paint because I would not have the story of my life be the story I was told to copy. I learned to sing because I changed the hymns and wanted to make them all my own. Anything they give, I will make beautiful. I will make my own. No one will contain me. No one will hurt me. No one.